Hey guys, before today's episode of the podcast, I want you to check out brandsashka.com/goodies. That's brandsashka.com/goodies. It's where I'm dropping all high value content for you to grow as a creative visionary. Check it out, brandsashka.com/goodies.
You're listening to the Visionary on Fire podcast.
What's up, fam? It's another cool episode of the Visionary on Fire podcast with Sashka. And today she's mixing things up with education, parenting, business, and antics. It's gonna be a good one, so buckle up and enjoy the episode.
Ooh, yabba dabba doo, visionaries, and welcome back to this week's Visionary on Fire podcast with moi, your host, Sashka, where I invite inspiring and visionary guests from around the world to share their thought leadership on their form of entrepreneurship, their philosophy, and using their learnings from this episode for you to implement today, for you to be the change that you want to see and be in this world. Our next guest grew up with an attitude of being owed for being born into a drug-infested community, for dad and sister dying, also for members of her family being addicted to some form of substance abuse. She was stuck in the mentality of being owed. Damn, I deserve this. I am entitled to this. People owed her. Where was her retribution? Year after year, she was waiting for her rescue for things that were being done to her. And then, you guessed it, she shifted her mindset. No one owed her nothing. She owed it to herself. It was her birthright to be healthy, wealthy, and see bigger and better places. It was not an entitlement. She's the host of the podcast show, Girl, You Got This, and a mother of 5, a devoted wife. Our next guest is anything but complacent. She's the author of the book, It All Begins With You, and her children's book, Beauty in Mahogany. Our next guest took feeling sorry for herself and stuck and turned it into a business of speaking and coaching designed to help women identify in their lives areas that need healing, forgiving, clarity, and transformation. She gets you committed to taking actions towards your dreams and goals. She's a go-getter, action-oriented, and gets it done. She leads by example, and she gently and consistently holds you accountable. I love me some strong feminine energy, and that is not in victim and proving energy. So I'm excited to welcome our next guest. So let's give her a warm welcome, the one and only Janell Jones. Hello, Janell.
Hi.
So good to have you here with us. We had a few little tech problems, but we online, so we're not seeing each other, but we can hear each other.
Yes, I'm so thankful to be here. I appreciate you so much for having me as your guest today.
So excited to have you. I love your voice. It's so like, oh my God, I love it.
Thank you.
Now, girl, that's how she says it on her podcast show. I loved it. I love listening to her podcast. You believe that there are 2 types of people, those that are fine with getting up and going to work, and those that are big dreamers and action takers. Why are you the latter?
I am the latter because I spent many years working for other people. And what I found out was that at the end of the day, they care about their bottom line. I'm not saying everybody is supposed to be an entrepreneur. I understand that. But I know for me, I have so much that I want to share with the world and to the world that I know that a corporate job would not be able to enhance me in that area and in that arena. I believe that I have many gifts to help other people, especially women, and under a corporation, I am limited to doing that.
I love that. When did you realize for yourself, hang on a moment, I'm a big dreamer and an action taker? And when did you then decide to go, I think I need to act upon this rather than hide it?
I actually always wanted to do stuff like write books and be a speaker and help people as long as I know I wanted to. I remember being young and I wanted to be the teacher and playing with my dogs and trying to get them some information. And it really started happening when I had my back up against the wall. I was in a position where I was at a job that I thought I loved. It was combining my social work skills with my higher education skills, and I was able to help youth. I'm passionate about helping youth because of what I've been through, and I found myself not enjoying it. I was being accused of doing things that I didn't do. It became more like a prison. It was becoming a nightmare more than a dream. And I had an option. I had two options to face: either stay there, remain in this position for 20, 30, 40 years, or I can do something about my life and go catch those dreams that I had put on a shelf many years ago. And it was very scary to even step out, but I knew if I did not do anything, I was going to remain the same. And I know that remaining the same was not an option for me. So I had to do something. And that started in 2017 when I began my publishing company, Melanie Grace Publishing, LLC.
I love that. You quote a statement from Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles. People usually change when the pain remains the same, is greater than the pain of changing. Was it in your life to make that change and take action on your dream? And why was it this important?
For me, it was important because my bio tells you that no one in my family really went to high school to have a high school education. And I did not want that for my life. And I knew that if I didn't pursue education or pursue my dreams, that I was going to be that person who constantly struggled and didn't live the life I wanted to live. And I didn't want that life. And so again, it had to become everything that I went through. And I went through a lot of stuff. Everything that I went through, I was not going to allow that to define me like I saw it do so many people in my family, where they use substance abuse and things to kind of cope with stuff. I wanted to learn how to deal with whatever it was and heal from that thing in order to help other people. And also for better to help my children. I found that it's very difficult as a parent to remain in a hurting stage and your children see that because it perpetuates. So for me, when life was hitting me in my face, I had to decide what is that I truly wanted to do. I knew that if I wanted to live this different life, this life that I was unfamiliar with, I wanted it so bad, I had to make different choices. I had to do things differently. I had to shift my mindset. I had to heal from the things that I went through, and not even the things people did to me, but things I did to myself. I had to forgive myself. I had to do all that stuff in order to get to where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a healed person and not a person who was constantly going through and hurting. I had to decide that for myself, that I was worth that. And then that's when my journey began.
I love that. And it's such a bold, it all really just starts with that, is just the choice to make the decision to go, I want this, and then make it happen. When you made the decision or the choice to move forward, it obviously comes with consequences. Things don't just stay the same that they are around you. A lot of things change within you, but a lot of things around you, a lot of people around you also change. And starting your own business and running from self-employed and self-empowered, what risks did you have to take, or to take action on these dreams and to move forward, making the choices that you did?
Doing that, it was when I first started, I was still working a 40-hour-a-week job when I first started my business. So that means I was going to work every day, 40 hours doing their job. And of course, by the time you're home, you're exhausted. But in order for me to move forward with doing this, I had to work at home. So I had to spend 40 hours working the corporate vision. And then I had to go home and spend 4 or 5 hours working my vision. And that was it was tiring. That meant, hey, kids, give me a moment to do this, or, I'm married. So even, having an opportunity to say, can I work on this? So some of that sacrifice some time. Thankfully, they were supportive and they understood that I had this vision and a dream, but it was some sacrifices for them as well. My family and my friends at the time, it was just, I am not doing anything on the weekend because I have, this to do. I am trying to do this. And I normally I get super focused when I'm starting doing something, and when I'm into it, that I block out everything. I really had to start creating some strong boundaries, even with my mother. I love my mother, but I had to create boundaries to say, hey, mom, I can't. My mom is elderly. So in her mind, if I didn't work, that meant I was free. And she didn't understand the concept of being a business owner. And I had to really create boundaries to say, mom, I cannot run errands for you every day because she doesn't drive. I can't run errands for you every day. Let's try to find a day to do that. I really had to really hone in on my boundaries, even with my children, to say, no, we can't do such and such. And it was a sacrifice, but again, they understood, and they understand that it's a big dream because now it's reciprocated with my children. So now they want to be entrepreneurs. It's so interesting to see how that seed is flourishing. They are saying, I don't want to work for no one. I mean, the part of it is, being millennium, they don't ever want to work.
I love it as well about the kids, I don't want to work. But it's so true because you see, and it's not freedom that we gain in entrepreneurship in terms of, the money and stuff like that we're earning, but it's how we free in ourselves and arranging our own time and feeling empowered in that rather than being centered around guilt or shame or having to do something or people pleasing. Now, there's a misconception of working with beautiful and empowering women such as yourself, Janell, in that we perceive our lives to be this happy-go-lucky party afterwards where everything is just on a high and overly optimistic, like nothing bad is going to happen when you have your own business and there's so much freedom. However, it's not. And you speak on one of your podcasts about pushing through, which I feel is a great lesson for our listeners to hear on how you handle A, knowing your sweet spot, and B, pushing through despite the sweet spot being tainted a bit. Would you mind sharing your wisdom here on your philosophy on pushing through in a space of being and healing, as well as in the space of discerning if it's the right decision or not?
Yeah. Like you were saying, I think a lot of times the misconception about being an entrepreneur is going to be easy. That is so false. So one of the things that I had to do was, when you're moving forward and you're doing something, it's a risk, especially entrepreneurship is a risk. And with a risk, you're going to face failure, you're going to face disappointment, you're going to face all of that. And a lot of people stop because of it, because they're disappointed, because they feel like they're failing. And you have to push through it anyway. And that means when you feel those feelings of failure or disappointment, hurt, you have to learn how to move anyway. You have to remain consistent because that is what helps you build your business. One of the things I learned was everybody who is successful has failed at something. The reason why they're successful because they didn't quit. And that is what happens a lot of times. We get into this thing and it's like, I have all this and I'm moving forward, but bam, this happens. And then it's like, I don't want to do it anymore. But unfortunately, that is how you get through. So you have to learn how to push through. And I do have to interject here and say, sometimes when you're pushing through, you do have to take a moment to make sure you're healing too, because I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to being hurt, they don't take that moment to actually heal. Sometimes we have to stop and we have to take the mask off and heal and then move forward. But you have to make sure, because you have to make sure you're healthy too. And I'm so into self-care. I really believe you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Oftentimes when you're a woman, we're juggling many roles and we forget to care for ourselves. And that's why I had to create boundaries, because I had this life where I'm spending 60 hours a week doing something, whether it was in the corporate business or in my own business. And I had to learn how to rest. And so it's very important to do that. But you're going to have moments. This entrepreneurship journey is not easy at all. It is work. No matter what nobody tell you, it's work. You're going to have to put in the effort to get there. And if you don't, that's when we begin to see the failure. And that's when we really feel defeated. But when I would get into it, doing something, and I would get so excited that I had this new idea and it made so much sense to me, then I would present it to the world and then I didn't get the feedback that I wanted to. I had to learn how to just move forward. Sometimes there's going to be 5 people on your Facebook Live. Sometimes there's going to be 100. I had to learn to be okay with that. I had to learn how to be okay with that. I still wanted to get the message out. So pushing through, doing it consistent with what you're doing, that's how you get the best results. There's so many people who started years ago and you're just seeing them now because they did not quit. So you got to keep moving in the arena of being consistent and not feeling like those moments, because you're going to be disappointed. You're going to face all of that if you're on this entrepreneur journey, but to learn how to face it and move and continue to move forward despite it, getting closer and closer to where you want to be.
I love that. And it's so, so, so true what you're speaking about. When I was listening on your podcast, you gave the example of planning a webinar and how some people didn't show up. Well, actually, no, a few people showed up or none. I can't remember. But rather than giving up, you were pushing through because it showed the success. What seemed like a failure to you was actually success. By pushing through, you came into a different area. So the promise was still there of what you were wanting, just not how you were expecting. And the expectations are what break us and what keep us back from pushing forward or pushing through. And it was a really, really good example when I was listening to you. And I thought it would be really good for the listeners to hear that it's not all roses. It doesn't all smell good. And when there are times when things kind of stop, to hold on to whatever it was that you wanted to start, just go in a different direction. You just never know where it's going to go.
I totally agree. And sometimes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, and sometimes we give up too quick. We're right there. And sometimes we just give up way too quick.
Yeah. Why do you think we give up too quick?
I think because unfortunately we're in a kind of society where we want to be gratified very quickly now. And we don't see the results we want like in 5 minutes. It's almost like I'm going on a weight loss journey. I'm going to work out today. And then if I don't lose 5 pounds, I'm done. It's kind of like the same concept. Like, okay, I ain't seeing what I want to see now, so I'm done with it. And then that's not how you succeed in the entrepreneurial world.
That's so true. You believe that it's important to do affirmations. In fact, you have a free 30-day affirmation calendar to download. Could you share with us additionally, perhaps 4 steps, 2, 3, whatever, that the listeners can implement today to work through a tough day despite having great mindset tactics under their belt?
Yeah. So one of the things I really like to do is mindfulness. I am a licensed social worker in Ohio. And during my journey of being a social worker, they taught us about mindfulness. And mindfulness is being in the here and now. It's being in the present moment. So one of the things that I really do is do mindfulness like in the mornings for only 5 minutes. Like you don't have to sit there for 20 minutes to do it. So you could do it in the morning for 5 minutes. What it does, it kind of helps you with anxiety and kind of sets your day. So you're learning how to like breathe. So you're counting in how to breathe and you're really watching your thoughts. Your thoughts are coming, but you're letting them pass. You're not following them, meaning that you're not, you know how sometimes if you ever try to meditate, it can be difficult at first, but you're really watching where your thoughts are going. And you're watching your breathing and techniques, which really helps set your day. So I can deal with anxiety sometimes. So when I do that mindfulness, it helps me really set my day. And I do it it helps at night too, where you're kind of de-stressing, from the day. You're kind of pouring all that out, emptying it out, taking 5 minutes to breathe. It also helps you sleep. So that's one of the things I would recommend as far as like getting you together. Because sometimes we're in the world where we're on the go, and we don't stop to take a breath. And also with the breathing, it helps your organs get more oxygen, which helps with being tired all the time. So it's a great way to get you going for the day or relax at night. So I definitely would recommend doing that. And then affirmations are the same, where you're looking in yourself in a mirror, eyeball to eyeball, and you're saying those things that you want to happen into your life. Even like I grew up with low self-esteem. So one of the things I had to learn how to say to myself was, you're worthy, you're valuable, you're beautiful. And sometimes on the outside, people can say, oh, that's obvious. But on the inside, you could be so broken down that you don't even feel that. So I had to learn how to build my insides up. And I did that with affirmations in order to kind of help me have that beauty on the inside and the outside. And then also it helped me to build my confidence and shift my mindset. And then one of the things, if you're in a position where you're working a lot or have a full-time job, I still actually work, but only work 2 days a week as a social worker. But I will transition to working my business eventually. But if you're working 40 hours a week and you're still trying to do an entrepreneur at night, what you can do is at night, write down some goals or make your goals, like do quarterly goals. So right now we're in the last quarter of the year. And then you could take your quarterly goals and then you could break them down by day. So that you could spend, 30, 40 minutes a day working on the goals to get you to the next step. So that you don't feel like you're trying to do it all at one time. So we know that the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Sometimes we don't move. We're procrastinating because we're trying to do too much. So it is a good thing to kind of really break down your goals, even down to the day, and say, you know what, today I'm going to call 5 people and I'm going to, let's say you're writing a book, I'm going to finish 2 pages.
I love that. Everything that you said over there is just, the listeners need to take heed of that, because it's such good insight, especially when you're having that anxiety. And sometimes you just need to calm down and get the breathing, get the mindfulness, and not be in it, but just observe it, what's coming at you, or what's around you, whatever. Janell, I have 2 questions for all my guests before we end the show. One of them being you filling in the blanks of 3 of my values and what they mean to you. The first being creativity for you is?
Creativity is being able to authentically express yourself.
I love that. Authentically express yourself. Wisdom for you is?
Wisdom for me is guiding me through life and helping me to make the best decisions for me.
I love that for you. Yep. Passion for you is?
Passion produces purpose, which produces your business. I believe that we are gifted with something, and you can monetarily profit from that.
I love that. And lastly, how do you want to change or challenge the world doing what you do?
My biggest thing is I want women and girls to really understand the concept of knowing who they are, loving themselves, and knowing their worth. And if we have a women that can do that, we'll be able to collaborate together more so than compete with each other.
Yeah, that is so important. I always say we rise together. We're so used to working on islands. So that is really, really important work that we need in the world. Janell, thank you so much for being with us here today. And for our listeners, you can find out more about Janell in the show notes, where you can find her on social media and a website. Her favorite book, her favorite quote. Her website is janelljonesempowers.com, as well as her podcast. Girl, you got this, which I love. And thank you so much for being with us here today and honoring your why, honoring your purpose, and moving forward as a brand that's ready to influence generations.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. And to the listeners, remember to be fast and furious and be the change that you want to see and be in the world. I love you lots, and I shall see you again next week. Bye-bye. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Please share the podcast and make sure you subscribe, because a bunch of you aren't subscribed. And more importantly, I know that you've listened to this podcast and haven't told your friends, family, and besties and clients that this is the best podcast in the world. I'm watching. Have a great day.